everybody. Welcome back to another video. And I figured that my predictions went so well last time, I may as well do them again. Of course, last week on my predictions, I went 0 for 4, so did not get a single game correct. But of course, you are not here for high quality football analysis. You are here for the whispers and the ASMR and the relaxation. Football is just secondary. It is the vehicle through which the tingles arrive. Let's start with the game between the Bengals and the Chiefs. And since today there are only 2 games to cover, I'm just going to be doing the face cam the entire time. So, the first game is the AFC matchup. The Bengals versus the Chiefs. The Bengals ended the regular season 10-7-0. The Chiefs ended the regular season 12-5-0. So the Chiefs won 2 more games than the Cincinnati Bengals. Looking at the offensive stats, this season Joe Burrow threw for 4,611 yards and 34 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes threw for 4,839 yards and 37 touchdowns. So, Mahomes had 228 more yards than Burrow through the air, and 3 more touchdowns than Burrow. Then you look at the overall offensive team stats. Yards per game, that favors the Chiefs. Passing yards, that favors the Chiefs. Rushing yards, that favors the Chiefs. Points per game, that favors the Chiefs. Third down percentage, also in the Chiefs' favor. They had the highest third down conversion rate in the entire NFL. So, the Chiefs clearly, on paper, have a better offense than the Cincinnati Bengals. Then we get to the defense. Yards per game, that favors the Bengals. Passing yards per game also favors the Bengals. Rushing yards goes to the Bengals. Points per game, that actually goes to the Chiefs. And third down percentage also goes to the Chiefs. So now we come to the box score. And we have 1 game played between these 2 teams. season. It was in Cincinnati, so a home game for the Bengals. And the Bengals ended up beating the Chiefs 34-31. In that game, Patrick Mahomes had 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And Joe Burrow in that game had 446 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It should be noted that the Chiefs, in this matchup, will be playing at home. So, Arrowhead Stadium is famous for how loud it is. And there's a report that the Bengals were practicing with simulated crowd noise. But I still don't think that simulated noise can fully replicate the experience of an in-person crowd. I just feel like audio played through a speaker system, it can get loud, but it's a different type of volume. Human volume has a lot more weight behind it. The air in your lungs, things like that you're almost infecting the environment with your energy, And you have tens and tens of thousands of people in the stadium. And I think that it is very overwhelming. Also, look at the sort of performances the teams have put up in their playoff matchups. The Bengals, they won by 3 against the Titans. And, what was their game against, where did it go? And they won by 7 against the Raiders. Then moving and looking at Kansas City, they just had their overtime thriller against the Bills, of course, where they won by 6. And before that, they blew out Pittsburgh by 21 points. I think this is going to be a close matchup. And as you guys know, I've said it many times, my current rooting interest for the playoffs is the Bengals. They are my favorite team remaining. They are one of the only teams remaining that I don't really have a reason to dislike. Every other team, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Niners, I have a reason to dislike them, but nobody on the Bengals, there's no reason for me to dislike them. So that's where my heart lies. But I think that if you're objectively comparing these teams, and you're comparing the circumstances of the game, home game in Cincinnati, or home game in Kansas City, rather, and you look at the on-paper stats, I think that I'm going to have to pick Kansas City to win this game against the Bengals. I think that Kansas City, although they do have some concerns on defense, I think that their defense is starting to get it together a little bit more. And certainly, although that Bills game was a shootout, I saw certain things that made me think their defense was not as bad as it's been made out to be. And even if this does turn into a shootout, a QB shootout, I think Mahomes and the weapons available to him get the edge in that department. And I feel like if the Pittsburgh defense and the Bills defense was not sufficient enough to shut down Patrick Mahomes, that the Bengals defense will not fare any better. That's just what my brain is telling me. So, for those reasons, in this matchup, I am taking the Kansas City Chiefs. Now let me get a drink. Have some Mountain Dew there. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers versus the Los Angeles Rams. This is in SoFi Stadium, but unfortunately for the Rams, they have a bit of an issue when it comes to away fans, especially away fans for the Niners and the Raiders. The last game at SoFi against the Niners felt like a Niners home game, and according to reports that have come out, even more tickets have been sold to San Francisco fans in this game than in that game. So for all intents and purposes, as far as the crowd is concerned, it may as well be a San Francisco home game. The 49ers in the regular season were 10-7-0. The Rams were 12-5-0, so the Rams had 2 more wins compared to the Niners. Let's go to the QB stats. We have Jimmy Garoppolo for the 49ers. He threw for 3,810 yards and 20 touchdowns. Go to Matthew Stafford. He threw for 4,886 yards and 41 touchdowns. So Matthew Stafford had 1,076 more yards and 21 more touchdowns. Okay, let's compare the offensive stats. Yards per game. It is close, but the Niners have a slight advantage in yards per game. Passing yards, that goes to the Rams. Rushing yards goes to the Niners. Points per game goes to the Rams, as well as third down percentage. Let's move to defensive stats. Yards per game, that favors the Niners. Passing yards goes to the Niners. Rushing yards goes to the Rams. Points per game is in favor of the Niners, and third down percentage is in favor of the Niners. So, what do I predict? Oh, real quick, these teams, they met twice this year, or this season rather. One on November 15th of last year. The Niners won that game by 21 points. And again in January 9th of this year. And the Niners won that game by 3 points. So, both matchups this season have been victories for the San Francisco 49ers. And because of their not think Garoppolo will have to do that much. But twice now this season, the Niners have defensively overcome the Rams. And I think that of all teams left in the playoffs, the San Francisco 49ers have the best defense. They have an X factor in Joey Bosa. And then, of course, on offense, they have, Garoppolo is nothing special. Perhaps he's solid. That's one thing. Garoppolo is solid. He's not really a guy that you would consider an elite quarterback, but he doesn't have to be. A lot of people give him crap. They say that he's pretty much always going to throw one interception per game, and I've leveled the same criticism. I think that is true. Garoppolo, he does have at least one bad interception per game, but they got Deebo Samuel. Of course, they have Bosa, Garoppolo. I'm sure there's tons of people I'm missing. I'm not good with names when it comes to the NFL. But then the Rams, they have Aaron Donald. They have OBJ, Stafford. I think there's something about that Niners defense that is too much for the Rams to overcome. We've seen it twice already this season, and I think we're gonna see it again this Sunday. I'm gonna pick the Niners over the Rams, setting up a Kansas City Chiefs versus San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl, where you're going to have more fans rooting for a giant meteor than either of the two teams playing. But those are my predictions. Chiefs, Niners. Please let me know any comments you have in the comment section down below. I would love to hear it. I'm sorry that the video is so short, but there's only 2 games. What more can I really say? Niners, Chiefs. That's my prediction. Locking it in. And we'll see what happens. If you're a fan of either the Cincinnati Bengals or the Los Angeles Rams, take solace in the fact that I went 0-4 last week. So, my predictions mean absolutely nothing. But anyways, I'm hoping for some good games. The last batch of games we had last week were insane. Some of the best NFL games I've ever seen in my entire life. So hopefully we can keep that up this week as well and not have lopsided blowouts one way or the other. Or low-scoring slugfests. Both of those would be bad. Let's get some nice, fun games with, drama, momentum shifts, all that stuff. Like I said, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for